Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. I'm going to get us started so that we can be mindful of our time today. So welcome to our second session of the Texas Clinical Research Workforce Series. And today we're going to examine the future demands of the clinical research workforce. I believe I saw all of you last week, but my name is Dr. Carolyn Chang. I work at Texas State University as the director of our DHSI programs, and I'm currently a faculty fellow with the Texas State Translational Health Research Center. I am very excited to be back again with y'all today for this second session in this series. And it is my pleasure to be able to connect with you about this important workforce sector once again. As I mentioned, we'll be looking at the future demands of the clinical research workforce in Texas. We're going to briefly look at some introductory information to situate ourselves. And then we are going to be joined by three guest speakers who are leaders in clinical research professions to share their insight from different perspectives about the future demands for this workforce in Texas. Following that, we will have time to once again have open discussion as well. And so your active contributions and participation is encouraged and really appreciated. Before we get started, I would just like to briefly review some general guidelines for today's session. Once again, if your internet connection allows, please have your camera on for today's session, at least for the open discussion. Please have your microphone off if you are not speaking. Make sure your name is shown correctly in your Zoom name, which can be adjusted if you use the right click on the square with your name. And you can rename it to whatever you would prefer. If you have a question or would like to share to the group, please use the raise hand feature so everyone can be heard. And then you don't have to worry about missing a link or resource that we share today. This session is being recorded and we post the recordings in the iEcho platform. Last session is already posted in there and today's will be as well. And in addition to posting in iEcho following today's session, you will also be able to find the recordings on our webpage. As we continue into this session, I invite you to post a little introduction to the chat if you haven't already, sharing your name, position, and what organization you're joining us from. And so very briefly, in case anyone was not present for our last session, I just want to say we're joining you from Texas State University, which is located both in San Marcos and Round Rock, Texas, in the heart of the Texas Innovation Corridor. This year, I'm collaborating with the Texas State Translational Health Research Center as a faculty fellow, and my project for this collaboration includes the creation and implementation of a regional forum for fostering collaboration, support, development, and conduct among life sciences and clinical workforce leaders in Central Texas. And this whole program will guide future development, both academic and competitive, for training programs and research for fostering these workforce sectors in Texas. During these sessions, you may be interacting with our team, which includes myself, Shelby Sneed, Jessica Schneider, and Dr. Melinda Villagran. And so you'll probably receive emails from any of us. I'm going to backtrack and share that we are now in session 2, and we have one more session, session 3, which will look at workforce wellness and resiliency on July 23rd. I'd also like to highlight an update to our one-day symposium. Based on feedback from the community, we have opted to convert the symposium to be a virtual symposium where we will explore strategies to enhance the health and resilience of the clinical research workforce. Following today's session, those that have registered for the series will get an email with information on how to register for that symposium. And so now I'm going to briefly cover some introductory information to help us situate ourselves and get geared up for discussion. And so there are several national reports. I'm just highlighting one here that summarize, the workforce supply kind of crisis and, prognosis and possible solutions. And so here I'm just highlighting the study by Friel et al. Again that was recently published that is titled, "Now is the Time to Fix the Clinical Research Workforce Crisis." And when talking about the workforce crisis and future demands, this paper summarizes and reviews several other sources and highlights several reasons for concern for this workforce, including a worldwide rise in the number of clinical trials, an overall rise in the complexity of trials, which includes a threefold rise in the number of data points collected for phase 3 trials over the last decade, and for all trial types, an increase in the mean number of protocol deviation and substantial amendments, as well as a surge in the expectation for trials that is powered by technological advances and new technologies that are being used, including telemedicine and wearables. And this is going to need new specialist requirements. Additionally, and I think we heard about this in our first session, the increased demand for decentralization of clinical trials, which is cited to be catalyzed from the COVID-19 pandemic, but is anticipated to be a revolution transforming this workforce. On the right, based on the literature talking about a worldwide rise exponentially in the number of clinical trials, I broke down some clinicaltrials.gov data for trials located in the United States, as well as specifically in Texas. And this is for the last 10 years, and we consistently observe 20 to 22% of trials being located in Texas for the US trials, and a pretty steady number of trials happening both nationally and regionally. And so that's just a little introductory information to get our discussion going. As we keep going, I also want to highlight some federal initiatives that may also influence what this workforce looks like in Texas. The first being the ARPA-H initiative by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which is the Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health. This agency has an overall goal to improve the nation's ability to conduct clinical trials safely, quickly, and equitably, and also to improve access to clinical trials for people in communities across the country. There was the formation of the ARPANET-H Health Innovation Network, which has a advancing clinical trials readiness aspect. And the goal of that is to leverage the nationwide capabilities and reach, and that includes this ARPANET Customer Experience Hub, which was announced fairly recently to be located in Dallas. And this includes bringing together innovators, industry, patients, academia, hospital centers, community health centers, and non-traditional partners to work towards building faster, less expensive trials with decentralized processes. In addition to that, what may be a federal driver includes the All of Us initiative coming from the National Institutes of Health. This was formed through the Precision Medicine Initiative Working Group. And All of Us is it's part of a new era in which researchers, healthcare providers, technology experts, community partners, and the public work together to develop individualized healthcare. Specific to clinical research, I'm just going to highlight the decentralization aspects of the All of Us initiative, as well as the movement towards transitioning study participants from participants into partners in research and their active involvement in the research process. And so we're going to transition into our guest speakers. Today we are joined by three speakers, Doctors Constance Johnson from UT Health Houston, Heather Meese from Texas Oncology, and Amanda Ramirez from UT Health San Antonio. I want to thank these speakers for joining us. We're going to transition to the speakers speaking. Broadly, I hope that our speakers can, one, share the role they play in the clinical research professionals workforce and the pipeline, what they anticipate are future demands for this workforce in Texas. I believe some will be able to share current efforts to enhance the pipeline and the workforce that they are either actively a part of or advocate for, and possibly from their professional perspective, what should be on our radar in terms of the future demands. And so I'm not going to pose each of these questions individually, but I may re-prompt. And I'd like everyone listening to think about their own responses to these questions as well. As we transition to first hearing from Dr. Constance Johnson, I'm going to put up a poll about our introductory information. And please feel free to fill it out as we get set up to hear from Dr. Johnson.
Great. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, I guess I can't share my screen?
I can adjust that. Oh, I took mine down, so you should be able to now.
Okay, great. No, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, you should be good now. Shelby just adjusted it.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. I am going to share the screen. Okay. So you should be able to see this now. And hopefully you're seeing slide view.
We are.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting us. And Sujatha Sridhar is here with me today. And I'm going to just talk for a few minutes about our clinical research professional workforce training program that we developed under funding from the Clinical and Translational Sciences Award over the past few years. And I'm going to speak probably for about 10 minutes. By the way, I'm the Associate Dean for Research and Chair of the Research Department at UT Health Houston Cizik School of Nursing. And Dr. Sridhar is the Associate Vice President of Research Compliance at UT Health Houston. Brandy Showalter is the faculty member for this series of courses. So I'm going to talk about how we developed it, and then I'm going to talk about just some brief outcomes of our training programs and our next steps. So we began with a review of the literature. We limited to English language and basically came up with 173 articles looking at what is the role of clinical research professionals. And you can see that we included a lot of different roles in this literature search. And we did this specifically to develop a cross-sectional survey on the roles and responsibilities of clinical research staff. This was sent out to clinical research staff and PIs within the Texas Medical Center and our Texas Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences sites. There were 72 items for clinical staff, 60 items for PIs, and we basically queried them on demographic data, training preferences, competency skills, and interest in furthering their education. This is before we developed our program. 272 staff members completed the survey. They were, the majority were between the ages of 26 to 44, white females, had bachelor's degree, but a third did not have specialized training in research. And 68 PIs completed the survey. Same age group, majority were in the same age group. 50% were female, majority white with doctoral degrees, and only 13% did not have specialized training in research. So we found out that the majority of the PIs wanted those with bachelor's degrees or higher, and the majority of the people who responded to the survey did have that. And another 25% had professional certifications in research, such as SOCRA and others. 64% of our respondents said they were interested in earning a certificate in clinical research. Almost 50% said they were interested in earning a master's degree in clinical research. A very small percentage said that they didn't need additional training. And on the principal investigator side, most said that they would support their research team furthering their education, and only a small minority stated they would not support it due to the cost of replacing lost work. And thus, our program began, which is an online program, so no one had to lose work as a result. We developed this program. Our curriculum was based on the core competency framework for clinical research professionals that was developed by the Joint Task Force for Clinical Trial Competency. It was consistent with content areas of the Association of Clinical Research Professionals and the Society of Clinical Research Associates, SOCRA. The trainees, after taking this, are able to sit for both exams after meeting requisite experience requirements. And this is just I don't know if you've seen this before, but I just wanted to share this quickly. This is the Joint Task Force for Clinical Trial Competency Framework, where there consists of 8 competency domains. And we, as I said, we base the curriculum on these domains as well. So our program had 4 objectives: to apply good clinical practice principles in the design, conduct, recording, and reporting of clinical research, employ clinical and translational research best practices and management of clinical research studies for a wide variety of study designs and interventions, employ principles of good clinical practice to generate quality data and ensure data integrity, utilize knowledge of applicable regulations, clinical research guidelines, and institutional policies to ensure the rights, safety, and well-being of human research participants are protected. There were a total of 3 8-week online courses beginning last year on August 24th and August 21st, and it ended on March the 3rd. These courses were taken sequentially and were designed to provide the trainee with a progression from an introduction to clinical research concepts, to study the study initiation process, and finally managing a clinical research studies. Trainees had a 2-week break between the 8-week online courses, and the entire program was completed in 28 weeks. We also, each module also included experiential components such as reviewing clinical research protocols, evaluating study feasibility, developing study budgets, eligibility screening, informed consent, study visits, and identifying and grading adverse events. So in the first series of courses, 34 individuals registered, 25 started the program. Out of the 25, 21 completed the program. This is a pretty good rate considering it's an online courses. Two were lost to follow-up and 2 dropped out due to familial issues. These are the demographics of our trainees. The majority were female with a mean age of 41. The majority were white, had a bachelor's degree. Everyone was employed, and you can see that the majority were employed in research professional positions already. So after each course was evaluated by the trainees for course and the faculty on a 4-point Likert scale, which ranged from needs improvement to excellent. And this shows the course for the course and the course content. The average score over the 3 modules was 3.71, which is toward excellent. And the course was evaluated based on was it aligned with the learning objectives? Is it current and up to date? Is it well organized and structured, engaging and relevant to the target audience, clear and understandable, appropriate for learners at the beginner level, intermediate level, and even at the advanced level knowledge? And we also looked at faculty evaluations, and the average over the 3 courses was 3.85, which was even higher and closer to excellent. And the faculty was evaluated on demonstrated knowledge, promoted use of learning resources, stimulated the trainees' critical thinking, available for guidance and consultation, conveyed feedback in a constructive manner, demonstrated respect for the students, presented an organized approach to instruction, used a variety of teaching methods, and followed the course requirements as stated in the course syllabus. So the faculty member was rated extremely high. Students overall really loved the course. They loved the instructor. A few things that they didn't like, some felt the material was repetitive. They didn't like the asynchronous nature of the course. They didn't like that they all were required to take city training, which were going to change in the future. Some thought there was too much homework, and some wanted a final assignment that made me feel more confident that I was ready for something like that. But overall, they thought it was a great course. So changes that we're going to make in 2024 and 2025, more lectures will be conducted live to increase the interactive element, but they'll be recorded to accommodate trainees who prefer an asynchronous experience. City training will only be required to those who haven't taken it for their job, and more guest lectures will be included. And then a year from now, in next March in 2025, we're going to do a 1-year post-program follow-up and ask for, where are they employed, and did they get any further education, their job satisfaction, and any additional program feedback. So this is our current new 2nd year of the program. It's currently open for admission, and you can find it by calling this number, go to clinicaltrials@uth.tmc.edu, or visit us at this website. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And I'm sorry if I missed it. Was there requisite experience required to begin the program?
No, high school education.
Okay, and then the cost, the tuition for the program?
$4,800.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Heather Meese is joining us from Texas Oncology, and I'll have her speak next. And generally, hoping you can share your kind of role and what you anticipate are future demands for this workforce in Texas, and any current efforts to meet these demands as well.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and then thank you, Dr. Chang, for having me here today. So I am the Central Research Operations Director for Texas Oncology, and we are a community oncology practice across the state of Texas, and we have a total of 220 clinics, but 53 of them conduct research. And so really it's our staff that are the ones that are doing the face-to-face with the patients and accruing them to these protocols and allowing these trials to be conducted. So specifically for oncology, what we're experiencing is that we really are getting hit with the increasing complexity of the trials, the rising cost to conduct the trials, the requirement now for the FDA of the recruitment of diverse study populations, and all of this on top of the added pressure of accelerated timelines and staffing shortages. And with that, we have the recent trends that have emerged, really more of a personalized medicine approach. We molecularly profile each of our patients' tumors, so there can be trial matching for this, the patient-specific condition. And we are seeing more technology being just completely immersed in the clinical trial, especially patient-generated data coming from the use of personal devices, the wearables, the patient interaction with apps on cell phones. And so with the demand for research professionals on the rise, we are also navigating through a nursing shortage. And so as a result, we're having to kind of pivot because this shortage is expected to last until 2035. And so there is no, near end in sight. And so we are including other professionals to fill the roles traditionally held by nurses. And so to Dr. Johnson's point, the clinical research profession they don't have established standards and clear training for entry-level staff, unlike many professions. I mean, as a cosmetologist or a car mechanic, you have to have a certification before you even enter the profession, whereas we're kind of backwards. A lot of the times staff gets into clinical research and they're not even fully aware of, everything that is involved in clinical research. And so really with no entry-level test and the ever-evolving demands, what skills really are going to help these candidates be successful and more desirable to employers with all of these anticipated changes and the demands. And really the staff that does well currently is just, they really have the adaptability, not only to these changes, and because there really isn't much of a routine any longer, but you also have to have the adaptability to the technology advancements. And now with the recent application of AI, which we haven't felt terribly much just yet, but I really do anticipate that that's going to be a big factor over the next 12 to 24 months. And that's really going to change. Not sure exactly how. Hopefully it'll alleviate some of the work burden, but we're still kind of anticipating how that's going to fold into just kind of the workforce. But now, technology is impacting all areas of clinical research, and our staff navigates hundreds of portals because, of course, there is no unified manner in which sponsors send us and receive data from us. Everybody has their own special program. And I don't see that changing in the near future. I know that there was an initiative by some large pharma to do the shared investigator platform, SIP. But that really has been very cumbersome in trying to navigate, and we just don't feel like it's really been terribly successful. Like I noted before, there is the incorporation of more personal technology and the wearables into the protocols. And so more of the data is coming directly from the patients as opposed to coming from the EMR and data collected from the staff. And so our staff, the clinical research coordinators are now really being required to provide more guidance to the subjects on their devices and on the apps. And so, they're having to kind of be proficient in these so that they can assist the patient during the course of the trial. And then as Dr. Chang noted on one of the slides, the decentralized trials, that really kind of has accelerated a lot of the use of additional technology because it is focusing really on making the clinical trials accessible and more convenient for people to participate. And so, you have the implementation of telemedicine, electronic documents are more prevalent. We are often consenting to trials via e-consent platforms. And so many of the tasks that were previously completed in the clinic via paper and in person are now being done remotely and electronically. And so really the staff has to be well-versed and adaptable to the technology changes that are continuously flowing, in and out of their daily workflow and in and out of the clinic. And so really a lot of our coordinators have become more of project managers, and this is allowing them to be a little bit more adaptable and successful because you have the planning, the coordination and the execution of all of these protocols. And you have to kind of manage your menu also for your physicians so that they're aware of what's available and how many patients are still needed for this trial. And it allows them to adapt to any changes and challenges that are experienced during the course of a trial. And so the critical thinking and the problem solving abilities really has kind of risen to the top of this. We have had to recently create various models for conducting our trials, and this is based off of the way that the protocol is designed, the patient population being sought, the trial complexity, and a few other considerations, because we want to ensure that our resources are allocated most efficiently, but yet allow us to be successful in the conduct of the trial. And so we want to make sure that our patients across the state, whether they live in a rural area in West Texas or whether they're in a metropolitan area in Austin or Dallas, they receive access to the same trials and the same treatments that, regardless of whether they're located. And so we've really been pushing, we have a new initiative to push all of our physicians, because like I noted, not all of our physicians are even at research locations, but we're trying to really bring awareness to the fact that all physicians should consider a trial first and foremost for their patients before automatically putting them on standard of care, because really, it gives the patient the newest cutting edge treatment, and oftentimes, a lot less expensive. And so by conducting the molecular profiling on every patient, then our goal really is to trial match for that patient. And so that is our goal. We're working towards that. It's a heavy lift when you're trying to change mindsets and just kind of culture too. But really, I think those are the largest areas that are, we're having to navigate right now. I know that there's been some modifications to FDA guidance and those types of things lately. And so one thing that, the coordinators are navigating as well are not necessarily having the Code of Federal Regulations memorized, but more of being resourceful and knowing really how to monitor for changes, how to implement any changes, and then when necessary, knowing how to find really the source of truth, instead of just kind of relying on, well, someone said, this is the current way of doing things. Because, oftentimes on audits and monitor visits, you have compliance issues. And so really just to make sure that compliance to those types of requirements stay first and foremost, especially when it comes to patient safety. And so, you, of course, the other thing that I kind of wanted to touch on really is communication skills, and not just verbal, but also the written. And I know that a lot of people, when you think research, you also think that you have presentations and publications that you want to present, and you're drafting protocols and reports. But there's also just the basic of, everybody, and I don't see this going away anytime soon, but a lot of our communication comes via email, and everyone is just email fatigued. And so, we've really been trying to focus on being anticipatory in responding to emails. So first of all, it seems like the skill of reading and responding to emails is kind of a lost art. Have you answered all of the questions in the email? And are you also anticipating a potential next question so that you can possibly reduce the amount of email traffic, because there's just so much information flowing back and forth that we're really trying to get a handle on that, so the important things don't get missed. Because everybody's inbox is full. I'm really interested in learning more about Dr. Johnson's program, because that's one of the things that really confounds me about our industry, is the fact that you have to be in the research industry and you have to have worked, 1,500 to 3,000 hours before you can even contemplate sitting for one of these certifications. And so the joint task force for the clinical trial competency that she noted, hopefully will help us kind of reconsider how we're going to prepare our workforce before they're in it. And then they have to carve out extra time in order to be certified and fully understand their chosen profession. And hopefully, too, that will help with the turnover. Because if you have somebody come in and they really are unaware of all the additional complexities of research across the board, you may have burnout or just frustration because of the continual changes. And so if we can really start at the basic level, and ensuring that they are well versed and well prepared upon entry, rather than having them drink from a fire hose for a year before they decide to sit for the exam. I really think that that's something that we as an industry need to get together and kind of rectify. And so I love the fact that this course is available to, high school students, and you don't have to have any required time period, because I think that'll help a lot. But, I've been in research now about 20 years, and just the pace of it is exponentially faster now. I mean, there's constant changes, constant adaptations, and now the technology, embracing of the technology, and you're constantly having to reassess your processes for efficiency, for speed, but all at the same time ensuring that your patient safety is first and foremost. And so, if we can approach these with a lens of, how can we make this happen, or how can we do this better, rather than, well, this isn't the way it's ever been done before, or, we can't do this, then I think we'll really be able to make strides together. But every day is different, in research. And for me, that's a perk of the profession. So hopefully if we can ensure that our new workforce is kind of well-grounded in what to expect and just the basic competencies, then they too will embrace it, and we'll be able to kind of build that workforce and not have to deal with the staffing shortages.
Thank you so much, Heather, for sharing. I will transition us to Dr. Amanda Ramirez, joining us from UT Health San Antonio. You're free to take it away, Amanda.
Hey everyone, excited to be here and also to hear from the other speakers. I have slides as well. Let me go ahead and pull them up. So my name is Amanda Ramirez. I work at UT Health San Antonio in the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, and I am the director of the Office of Student Success. In addition to that, I also teach a course in health equity as part of our Translational Sciences PhD and Master's program. So what's my job in student success? Where do I fit in? And my job is really helping students be successful both in and out of graduate school and beyond graduate school. So even after they become faculty, or they become a PI or go into industry, they can always come back to me as a resource. Now, our students come to me, and our alumni come to me for career development, professional development, helping to build their network and community. And then for those that are currently in school, getting that academic support. So my job is to help them find opportunity, to capitalize on that opportunity as well. Now, as part of this and part of my role and background, I'm a psychologist by training and have done health equity work in the past. So I teach a health equity practicum course. It's a course within the Translational Science doctoral and master's degree program, and it's really looking at social determinants of health and health disparities. And students that are entering this course are really looking for experience with the healthcare workforce. So they're looking at community health workers. They're looking at what ways can I get involved and have more one-on-one time with the patients within these clinical trials, and how also can I study that myself. And so this is typically done with shadowing, attending workshops, doing some informational interviews, and placements with various community agencies that can help them as they explore what does health equity look like in practice, particularly when looking at those clinical trials. Typically, my students are already in the healthcare and research workforce, so they already have their MDs or their MS or their dental hygienists, and so they're already doing the work. And what they're looking at is, how do I integrate the work that I'm doing with an understanding of health equity? And how do I integrate that into my research, into my clinical work? So that's the really exciting part of the class itself. And so by the time these students graduate, they're not necessarily looking to join a study that already exists. They might be the ones creating the study and looking to industry and academic institutions for collaborations. They're the ones that are deciding what surveys are going to be administered in their hospitals, or what surveys or resources or clinical trial data they're going to collect. So that's my translational science students who are already a little bit more advanced in their understanding of clinical trials and possibly even utilizing clinical trials as it is. Now, there's another aspect of my population as well, and that is the other graduate students. So we have 21 programs in the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences. You can see them here on the right. We have doctoral in medical physics. We have a DDS PhD program, biomedical engineering, health sciences, nursing sciences, radiological, translational sciences. And our biggest program is our IBMS Integrated Biomedical Sciences program. We also have master's degrees and certificate programs as well. That being said, a majority of our students do not have a background in translational science or a background in clinical research. And a majority of students are also not getting that opportunity in the lab. So they are basic scientists, and that's where their time is devoted. So yes, my translational sciences, my nursing sciences, and RADI-Sci students, they get those clinical hours to do the clinical research. My basic scientists don't get that opportunity as much. So as a result, they don't have as much exposure to what those careers look like. So as a result, I helped to run an event called Biomed Career Fest. Next year's date is March 21st, 2025. I'll promote that, and we're going to watch a little video, and then I'm going to tell you about it. So let's see if I can figure out advanced computer audio. Okay. Oh, wait. No, that's not going to do it. Oh, share sound. Perfect. And then I will come over here. Let me know, Carolyn, if you can give me a thumbs up if you hear it.
Biomed Career Fest is an activity designed for you trainees to explore different career options of things you may want to pursue after you obtain your degree. It's an opportunity for you to grow your network, explore different career options, and maybe even get in contact with different recruiters that are looking to hire right now.
I think an elevator pitch competition is the most exciting part for me because I personally participated in one last year, and it was a fantastic experience. We're going to have a little bit of a more expansion of the elevator pitch competition, and then we're also going to have networking events, which will be roundtable information interviews, and then just like networking opportunities and some recruiters also. So I think it's a very exciting opportunity to learn what you want to do in the future.
What I'm most excited about for Biomed Career Fest is the informational interview sessions. Those are really fun, and it gives you a good sense of what different options there are outside of academia.
I had the opportunity to meet people from different professions, and it gave me a clear idea of what it would entail for me to get involved in this profession.
What I took away from Biomed Career Fest last year was that there's a wide variety of options that are available outside of academia. And some of them are more traditional options, such as R&D, but there's others, such as science policy, that are also interesting. Yeah, I think that the Biomed Career Fest last year definitely did help me solidify what I want to do after I get my PhD.
We want you trainees in the San Antonio region and close by areas of Texas and South Texas to join us and participate so that you can grow your network and know what is going on in the San Antonio Life Science hub, whether it's academia, industry, medical affairs, clinical affairs, entrepreneurship, more business aspect, consulting, etc. We're going to cover all of these topics, and we would like for you guys to take this opportunity so that you can learn more about all the different career options that you have at your disposal so that you make the most out of your training and become a successful scientist.
Okay. So that is the program that I help to run with our graduate students to expose them to the variety of careers that they can pursue. Through that, they are able to meet with scientists. And I should say, I'm giving you the date because not only are you welcome to come as a scientist or program director to talk about your field, but you're also welcome to invite other trainees. So this is open to all master's and PhD level trainees. So they have to be in their graduate school or postdoc. So currently training who want to explore career options. It's open to the entire region. So we have students come in from UTMD Anderson, UT Health Houston, UTMB, UT Austin for this event, which is wonderful. But oftentimes this or the reason this is happening is because our students don't get an opportunity to explore what careers look like outside of their lab. Students who have attended in the past said that clinical research paths is a top 5 area of interest for them, but they don't know how to do it. Recently, because I didn't do a great job collecting my data, I need to work on that this year for this year's attendees. But when I surveyed 32 of our doctoral students who attended, 60% expressed interest in this sector, which is pretty consistent with what's on the national stage in terms of what students are interested in, what graduate students are interested in. And 38% noted needing more training or information about pursuing this route. So a lot of our students are interested, but they don't know how. And I would say that as a career advisor, as a career coach for a lot of these students, they come to me and they're like, Dr. Ramirez, I have 4 years, I'm year 5, year 6. I have all of these publications, but I don't know how to pivot. I don't know how to go the clinical route. I just know what it's like to be in the lab and to do my research. So there are a large number of students interested, but are unable to get that experience because they need to focus on their research. They need to focus on what's in the lab. And so graduate students are really an untapped resource. These students have the skills, they have the adaptability skills, they have the interests. Let's go back to, they have the interests, the critical thinking, they know regulation and compliance. They've worked with animal mouse models or non-human primates, right? They've worked on grant writing. They just don't have that clinical work. So when I'm advising them, and I'm saying, we're tailoring your resume to the job description, we're looking at the job requirements. Oftentimes we look at these clinical positions that they're potentially interested in, and they don't qualify. They don't qualify to apply. So you have potential students out there that want to pivot, that want to explore the next stage of translational science, go from the bench work to the clinical work, but don't know how and don't have a route to do that. And so there are supports that are needed. So oftentimes for advanced graduate students, they have limited time in their degree plan. They have limited resources, so they don't get paid well. So they don't have the extra money to take extra courses. I wish we could pay our graduate students more. That's a more complicated issue, but they have limited time and resources. Few have prior years of experience in industry. So I do have a lot of students with experience in industry that came back to school. But I would say a majority have not had industry experience. They're also navigating their dissertation, publications, being an adult and having kids and having a future, finding partners, trying to find a life outside of work, and applying for a job. So that's at what point they come to me. And at this point, we're trying to figure out how they even have time to do informational interviews or to attend one of my events where we go and look at the labs and what it means to scale up, or they meet people in person. That is limited to them to begin with. And then there's also limited awareness of what are the pathways to clinical careers. So I'm having them do informational interviews with folks like yourself to figure out what pathway, but oftentimes they're feeling stuck because the training options are limited. So what are the training options available to at least my students? So they can do a translational sciences certificate. We have a certificate program here at UT Health San Antonio. It's a great and wonderful program, but this means extra classes. This means extra time, extra resources. Yes, they can get it grant funded, but it does mean extra classes, which means more time to graduate, right? And not everyone has that ability or support from their mentor. They can do shadowing. But the availability of mentors doing clinical research and actively able to shadow are limited. They can do a practicum, right? Like my course, they can do a practicum, but that's limited time and also limited exposure to the clients that they might need or the type of experience they might need to fit that job description. There's also certificate programs that we found that they can take post-graduation, but those are often an added expense. So those are running $3,000 to $4,000 for a graduate student trying to make ends meet and trying to find a job. And so the question becomes, how do we collaborate to create pipelines for basic sciences to pivot into these roles that require patient-facing experiences? And also one of my passions is how do we collect the data on workforce development that we need to support these students in their training? Again, I can do better at collecting my data. I have an event to support students in developing in this way, but there are states like Massachusetts, who I see as the goal, right? That are actively collecting this data, that are actively saying, these are where the basic scientists are going, and this is how they're transitioning into the clinical research space. So we need to show our basic scientists how to get there. What does that pipeline look like, and what does that direction look like? So I'm available for questions, but also we can talk, as I'm excited for this conversation. But if you have interest in a practicum or training for graduate students, please let me know. Please feel free to reach out. Also, if you have jobs that would be a good fit for basic scientists that are in the clinical realm, I have students ready to apply. I have students just waiting for the jobs. Again, they just don't meet the minimum patient interface requirement. But that would be wonderful to be a part, and would be grateful to be a part of your team, and are willing to learn. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
Thank you, Dr. Ramirez, for sharing. And I might echo and add on